Welcome back. So we're going to look at creating a painterly portrait. However, I want this to have a slight modern edge, almost a bit beauty-esque. A lot of my work, for anyone who follows, you will know, a lot of my work sort of goes into the fashion sort of side, but also kind of is on the portrait, a more classical kind of side. So we're going to be editing this beautiful picture of Eden. And as usual, I haven't planned anything. I haven't done anything. This is the file as it was shot. And we're just going to go through and naturally edit so you guys can see the thought process. I have no idea if it's helpful. I think I'm quite chaotic. I edit what I see and go with it. And I kind of have an idea of where it ends up. But let's see what we can go with and see what comes out. So we're looking at taking this image to the best level it can be. We want to take it to living its best life. We want this image to really, really stand out. If I zoom back out again, you can see it's quite a striking image. We have a strong pose, a beautiful, strong glare. It's quite styled. I've positioned the hair. We've got the hat with the props. So I think it's something that we want to be drawn to the eyes. We want to be drawn to the face. We want something absolutely beautiful when you look at it. So as usual, first thing that I do, clean up. Always do clean up first. Don't get too excited and start doing all your editing. Go round and let's do cleanup. So the first thing, we have a couple of little bits of fluff on the hat. I am just using the patch tool and dragging that across to get rid of this fluff. Bits like this, I'm going to actually use content aware. So first bit, I'll patch tool. I will select round, drag across. But if I do that over here, I'm going to get a smudge, or I can try and line it up, which actually was successful. But I can also hit the delete button on my keyboard, hit OK when it's on content aware, and it will just do it for me like that. So I can start dragging all of these around. Now she has curly hair. I want the hair to stay curly. I'm only looking at removing any hairs that are causing a bit of a distraction, maybe standing out more so than the others. I want the hair to stay curly, and I want to have that slight frizz to the hair because that's real and we like it to be real. Let's move around. So all the hair here, I can start dragging everything around. I can take these bits off if I wanted. They're not really distracting as much as you'd think. However, this hair, that hair is bugging me. If I zoom in here, you can see how much that hair has stood out. And for anyone who's familiar with printing your own work and understanding about printing your own work, it's a sort of hair like that that can really stand out as more of a scratch and look like a scratch or a mark on the print. Okay, let's take these out. And as I zoom back out, it's not noticeable. Now I'm going to start taking out these hairs here, just so we have this curl. You can keep going forever when you're doing this. You can find a million and one things. I'm tapping the wrong buttons. You can find a million and one things that you want to erase. But I'm going to come back to the hat. But overall, I am now happy with the hair. That's a scratch hair. I am happy with that. I can always come through and perfect more in the hair later. So the next thing that was bugging me was the hat. Now I'm going to use a little trick for the hat. Anything on the edge, we're going to do our content aware first and just grab any of that. This bit's a bit annoying, but we'll come back. I'm now going to create a new layer, and we're going to put an effect on that layer, which will hopefully help clean the hat up a little bit more. So first thing, we're going to duplicate the layer, which will be Control and J. And then we're going to go to Filter, Noise, Dust and Scratches. Dust and Scratches is a really good tool that either saves a picture or ruins it. When it's bad, it's really bad, but when it's good, it's amazing. And we're looking at having the texture on the hat exactly as it is, but all the flakes are gone. So first thing, far too smooth. I'm going to take the radius down. I'm going to come right down to here. And then threshold I can play with, and I can see those coming in. So I'll tell you what, let's bring our radius up a little bit, cover a lot of space. Turn this off and on now, you can see those dots just disappearing. I'm going to take the threshold down a little bit. That's looking quite smooth. I think that's actually working quite well. Now you'll notice it's affecting the flowers, it's affecting everything. We're going to mask it in after. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to click OK. We're going to add a mask. Invert that mask, because right now everything white is visible. So we want to hit Control I, make the entire mask black. None of our mask is now visible. We're going to go over to our brush tool, make sure it's on white, because if you draw black on black, nothing's going to happen. And then as I draw over the areas I need, you can see that it's just removing those bits of fluff. Now, because we've matched the texture quite well, you don't have to be incredibly accurate, because the bits that don't have fluff already have the right texture. So that's kind of working. Bring around there. If you think you've got it slightly wrong, or you think that you want to tone it down a bit, you can play with the opacity ever so slightly on the layer. Yep, I think that works. I'm not entirely confident about the edges up here, but I think it's not doing a bad job. Let's try that bit. It's not great. It was more designed to be on the most like front bit of the hat. That's definitely cleaner. And then I'm going to check under here and do these bits as well. Make sure everything is consistent. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to just grab this bit and content aware that at the bottom. Make sure that's good. Okay, I'm happy with that. So you can keep your layer if you want to keep your layer. I'm going to flatten it because I'm happy with that. I'm happy with the edit, and I'm unlikely to have to go back to add more fluff into the hat. If I really needed to save any part of this image and come back later, I have my raw file. So I really don't have any reason to save this particular bit. I understand you wanting to keep contouring and other things like that, but this I'm going to flatten. So Control E to flatten down, because then I want to start using my content aware to just get rid of some of these threads on the leaves. So I'm just going to take those off. Perfect. Just to add a little bit more realism into the flowers, I just want to get rid of a few of those little threads in there. That's fine. Perfect. Okay, happy with that. Hat looks good. Everything looks good there. Let's move on to a skin edit. So Eden doesn't need very much at all. Her skin is absolutely beautiful. What I'm going to do is ever so slightly soften. So I'm going to hit Control J, and I'm going to put my opacity for that layer on 50%. And then I'm going to grab an area and bring it to a similar area, not somewhere completely different, similar area, and just bring that over. And you will see it starts to just soften that skin. Now if I turn it off and on, you can see it just softening those areas. And she doesn't need her skin softening. What I'm doing is I'm just removing any area that is distracting from the eyes, because it naturally will have slightly more texture. But we are keeping the texture. That is very important for me to stress. We're not removing pores. We're not trying to make her into a Barbie. We're keeping all the texture. There we go, from there. And it's the sort of thing you can use if you want to soften things like chickenpox scars, for example, are a really good one. Not that I think Eden has any, but chickenpox scars are a great one because they are something you don't notice as you're talking to somebody. But if you put a light to one side, you're going to get a shadow. It's naturally going to show up. So that would be something I would want to soften because it's not... I created the shadow. I added that on. Even though it's naturally there, I enhanced it. And it can be the same with pores and all sorts of things on the face, which is why softening is completely fine. Nothing to do on the arm here. Now, the only other bit is we've got a slight makeup crease underneath. here. So I can do this, and you can see that I can still see the lashes underneath it, slightly soften them, but that is okay. But instead of doing that, if I go and duplicate my background layer one more time, I'm going to turn my other one off so you can see the effect. If I grab this area and bring it down, you can now see there are no lashes. I'm now going to put that back on 50%. You can see it's softened. But if I now put this on to darken, it will keep the darker areas. So things like lashes, it's not actually going to affect. If I now come over here and do the same, I'm going to drag this down, and you can see it is not affecting the lashes, but it is slightly affecting the skin underneath, just softening it. Works really well because it works around freckles. I don't always put it on darken. It's not always necessary. And also if you have lighter skin, it's definitely doesn't always work. But with darker skin, that works really, really well. So let's put these on. Perfect. I'm going to group those together, and I will name them skin. And that does everything for skin that's needed. So next I'm going to do my contour. I contour a lot with my lighting. So you can already see, if I grab my brush, let's put a blank layer on, you can already see cheekbone, nose, around the shoulder here. You can see that there is naturally contour in the way I light. So all I'm looking at doing is enhancing the light that was there. I'm not looking at changing the light. Now, enhancing it can give us a much more 3D and actually add quite a painterly effect. So first thing I'm going to do is add a grey layer. Control, Shift and M. We're going to go to soft light, going to tick the box, click OK, and we have a grey layer. If I turn my other layers off, it is just grey. We're then going to use our dodge and our burn, and we're going to use that to, which can be located just over here, and we're going to use that to lighten and darken the areas that we want to. So my dodge tool is on mid-tones, 20%, and I'm going to just pat in there. Now I do tapping motions. I find that tapping motions gives me the most consistent edit. Any kind of scribbling and lines, I feel like I can see them. But I'm just going over the tip of the nose, just the bridge there, slightly under the eyebrow, onto the chin. Now something to remember, if you're contouring the cheek, the light will hit the upper lip. Don't leave the upper lip, because you will end up making it look like there's a slight shadow moustache, which is not what we're going for. Slightly on the shoulder, slightly down the arm, and then I'm going to move on and do my burn tool. So I'm going to bring the burn tool and just do slight lines around here, coming in. So you'll see me cover contouring quite a lot. If you want to see more on contouring and you want to see a detailed, long description on contouring to really, really understand doing it to its best, go to studiophotographyworkshops.co.uk, and if you become a member there, you will find all my videos on contouring to get the best result. So let's come around here. I'm going to slightly enhance on the eyes and slightly darken on the pupil. Right, so it doesn't feel like I'm doing a lot. It feels quite effortless, but the second I turn off these other layers, you can see how much I'm drawing. I always think this looks quite cool. I quite like it. And then if I turn these back on, if I turn this layer on and off, you'll see how drastically different that actually is. It's made a huge difference. Now, I love it how it is. I think that looks nice, but it's quite intense. It's quite dramatic. So I think we're going to turn the opacity down a little bit for that, just to blend it, just to make sure it's not quite as intense as it first felt. Now, don't be fooled. You can use this layer to contour anything. It's not just skin. If I now come across, I can start adding into the hair, and we can add some nice highlights into the hair here, and just follow that hair around, and I can go to my burn tool and I can darken down these bits, and now the hair has a slight shimmer coming to it. We can also use it to enhance or tone down the flowers at the top. It really gives you that control over the image, so you can decide which area of the image you want to be the focus point and you want to draw your viewer's eye to. So I love that. I think that looks really, really nice. Really, really happy with that. I think the next thing I want to do is I do think I want to add a bit of something. I don't know. I think I want to add a bit of a vignette. I want to add something to it. But I'm so, I love the eye contact with this image. I'm trying not to overdo it. I'll tell you, just before we move on, I'm going to actually contour the lip a bit more. We're going to darken the bottom of that lip, lighten just on here. Fabulous. That looks absolutely beautiful. I love it. So, you know what? I'm toying with it, and I want to add something into the background. I think adding something in would be quite good. Tell you what, let me come over to my backgrounds section up here, and I'm going to grab that one. It seems to be a favorite of mine at the moment. And I'm going to grab this in. So this is an AI generated Old Masters background. AI generated because why not? It might as well. I don't believe in adding stuff you can't have in person. But I'm okay with certain backgrounds dropping in and stuff like that. It's a whole debate. It's a whole online thing. Some people want to just digitally create everything. Some people want to be purely in camera. I'm half and half in those. I like to stick to the integrity of our craft as photographers before we're editors. That's my main thing. So I've added my background. I'm going to take out the saturation entirely. Why am I doing that? Because I don't want a grey background. Because when I change my layer settings to overlay or soft light here, which as you can see isn't making too much difference, we'll go to soft light. It's going to take the color from what's underneath. So if I'm going to move the background around, you can see that it's taking on the color of whatever's underneath it. And I can bring this in here. And then what I'm going to do, I could use select subject. I could use lots of things. All I'm going to do is I'm going to stick a mask on. I'm going to hit Control-I to invert it. And we're going to just draw over because it's hair, because it's black. We're not going to have to be too perfect with this. And it's going to just come in a tiny bit. Let's see. Perfect. Coming in there. When you've done this a long time, you learn what colours and what textures are more forgiving than others for you to overlap. Okay, perfect. And I'm going to turn the opacity down a little bit on that. Brilliant. I just wanted a slight texture, and I think that's helped. I think that has helped, bringing that into the background. I think that's quite nice. Perfect. So I'm happy with that. I think that looks really, really nice. I'm really happy with that as an edit. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you guys next time.